Hey everybody, Matt Dunn, Prime Analog Records. I was recently watching a video that was called the Sea. It's a channel. It's Sea of Tranquility, and Pete Pardo was talking about progressive jazz, and I thought I'd jump on board. Got quite a bit of that, and I've got a way I want to show it because I want to show you how. To find really great progressive jazz, you have to read a lot about the artist and in the liner notes, and that way you can find out who is who and what is what, and you'll see how many of these same people feed into each other's or other artists. Everybody in the business obviously knows who the best players are, and they want them on their albums. So anyway, let me start out with one that I don't know if anybody's seen this one, but this is actually a very interesting prog record. It's Herbie Hancock, and it's really interesting. It's because it's almost a disco album. And I've never heard anything that Herbie's ever done that's like this. So it's pretty interesting. And this is, I really enjoyed it, but you can hear the disco in it. You should check it out and at least go stream it and see if it's something that you like. All right, I've talked about this group before, and I told you they're a split off from the Allman Brothers. And this is really worth a check out. This is amazing stuff. It's definitely prog rock, and it's beautifully done. It's beautifully produced, and it's obviously it's on the Capricorn label. So that's another one. Got several here that I want to talk about here, and it's one of which I was sitting there listening to Pete talk about this the other day, and I was stunned that he never talked about this guy. This guy's name's Dave Grueson, and Dave Grueson is some kind of an amazing pianist. He's done so many soundtracks; it's hard to keep track of all of them, and he did the theme from Tootsie, but I think those are kind of fun and whimsical. He's done a bunch of different TV shows and stuff like that, but one of the main things that he did that is really an incredible soundtrack is on Golden Pond. And I don't know if you've ever seen the movie. He has done that's a masterwork from this guy he's got such touch on the keyboard. It's really incredible. So definitely don't miss out on this guy. He comes around. I mean, he's on many albums. I mean, he was a great big studio player for years, and then he went out on his own. Here's another incredible album, and he was actually one of the first jazz artists that I recognized that actually recorded digitally. And he actually, these, like my title is Prime Analog Records, but some of these are directed digital, and they came from digital mics and went straight into a processor, and he's actually one of the co-founding members of GRP, that label there. That's a very well-known jazz label, and it's very well, they're very well done, the work is. Here's another Dave Grueson album right here. Just incredible. It's just beautiful to listen to. And you can see right here, it says Digital Master. I don't know if you can see that right there. Whoops. But it says Digital Master right there, and that's what that is. I mean, these are digitally mastered or digitally sourced. However, the first album I ever got from this guy was this album here. This is, I don't know if you guys know about Sheffield Lab and the way that they work. Leland Schuyler, the great bass guitar player, he was talking about this the other day about an artist that I had talked to you guys about before, about Michael Ruff. And he actually played on one of these Sheffield Lab, which is this label right here, but he had played on one that was from a guy named, and I talked to you guys about Michael Ruff. And what they do, they record all the instruments all individually. They get it all set, and then they go 1, 2, 3, and they play. And it goes straight out of the microphones after what they've done on the board before anything, and it's in a cutting lathe. It goes straight to the cutting lathe, so there's no step in between. So that it comes into the board and then out into the cutting lathe, and that cutting lathe cuts from one side all the way out. And if somebody misses a note, let's say in the last song, on the last note, they have to stop. They have when they stop that, because it's an absolute cut that goes all the way across, just like your record does, and the pauses are built in, but they're playing live, and that's what makes this so incredible, is that they're playing live, and that so there can't be any mistakes, and if there is, then what happens is they have to go back and start over. Which I thought is a painstaking process, but it has incredible results. And this album here that I was showing you before, let's see if I can kill that glare. Dave Grueson, this is such an incredible album. I mean, the fine piano work and the touch that he has, and then the other instruments that are all playing. And I mean, and they're not fooling around here. I mean, they've got, the drums are Harvey Mason or Steve Gadd, and the bass is Anthony Jackson or Ron Carter and Abel Laboriel. And I mean, these are the best of the best. So they're not fooling around, and they can't, with obviously with the way that this process works. But anyway, it's worth a listen, and if you can't do anything but stream it, you should stream it. But actually, this is not that expensive an album, and you should get this as a part of your jazz collection. You can thank me later. I guarantee you'll love it. All right, now we're going into somebody. Now remember, you guys, you heard me talk about Lee Ritenour before. And this is Lee Ritenour and Dave Grueson. Dave Grueson actually found or discovered Lee Ritenour. Sorry about that. I had to stop it because I had some kind of problem going on with my computer. Anyway, so where I left off is talking about Dave Grueson and Lee Ritenour. If you want to hear something that's a real treat, it's another one. And it's on the GRP label. And it's another digital master. You'll see it right there. And then, the way that they're doing this, it's much stronger and much more beautiful than a CD. The CD sounds compressed. I've got both of them, and they sound very compressed. It doesn't have a good warm feel to it, but the albums do. So, but that's just one of many, and I want to show you. Here's the one I showed you before about Lee Ritenour, and it's like, if you love guitar work and you love beautiful guitar work, this is the one to get. And the super disc here, it's like a Mobile Fidelity. It's half-speed mastered, and it's beautiful. And this is all analog. This is an all analog production here. So, all right, so we go into one of my favorite artists also, which no one talks about. I don't know why they don't, but this guy's name is Bob James. And Bob James, this is all analog. This is all analog recording. But Bob James is an incredible keyboardist, and he on his own. I saw him in concert twice. And he is the real deal. It's amazing what he's doing. And here's another one. He's had a lot of commercial success. And one of the ones that everybody knows is the theme from Taxi. That's Bob James. Bob James wrote that, and he performed it. So, and it's on this album actually. But he tends to, like I said, these people are getting together, and what happens is, like, Bob James put a group together years ago that had that had Lee Ritenour, which I just showed you, Lee Ritenour, and on the guitars, Nathan East on the bass, and Harvey Mason on drums. And halfway into the project, they did multiple albums, and it was just incredible stuff to hear. But halfway into the project, what happened is they moved on. Lee went off with Dave Grusin and had to be replaced, and they replaced him with somebody who's really great. It's Larry Carlton. So it's beautiful stuff, and it's like, but that group is called Foreplay. Unfortunately, all I have on that is they're on what do you call it, CDs. So I didn't want to even show that. So anyway, here's another one. Remember I was talking about how one artist feeds into another? Well, you take that last one, Bob James, and he got together with Dave Sanborn. And you go through Sanborn's records. It's a who's who of players, and like I said, I mean, it's these people are all like, like I said, Lenny White on drums, or Harvey Mason, Steve Gadd's on a lot of this, and on the bass is Anthony Jackson or Abel Laboriel. I mean, I never hear anybody talk about Abel Laboriel, and Abel Laboriel is like the shit. So, I mean, it's unbelievable. So, anyway, so you've got, this is a collaboration with Bob James and Dave Sanborn. And it's another beautiful album, amazing album. It's just, I mean, there's upbeat and then there's downbeat, and it's incredible stuff. But I mean, it's, the musicianship on these albums are beyond reproach. Now another one, and I've seen this guy, I saw this guy in concert, and I don't hear people talk about him. And incredible, if you love jazz guitar, you can't leave Earl Klugh out. Earl Klugh is some kind of an amazing guitarist, and just, I mean, he's got such a touch, and most of the time you hear him is with a acoustic guitar, and what he gets that guitar to speak. It's really incredible. So, don't miss out on this guy. I've got many albums by him. These are just a couple, but he's out there, and you can get him in the wild fairly cheap. A lot of people don't know who it is and what he is and all that. So, they're missing out. Don't you miss out. Okay, here's another one that, it's really funny, because it's like a lot of people don't know these people until I point things out, like this right here. Jeff Lorber came from he started a group called the Jeff Lorber Fusion. And it's great. It's great stuff. It's amazing. It's beautiful. And one of the standouts, like on this album here, is that you hear this incredible saxophonist. You're going, what is that? That's incredible. And I looked it up. I remember years ago I looked it up. There's a guy on there named Kenny Gorelick. And Kenny Gorelick is Kenny G. And this album is his solo album after that last album I just showed you, Jeff Lorber. But, obviously Kenny G has gone on to have bigger and better things, and these are just a few of the examples. But Kenny G's in a world of his own, the way he plays, and he's got a signature sound, and most of these players do. I've noticed over the years that if you don't have a signature sound, then you're really not in demand. One of another one that I found, and I found this years ago, and I actually had to dig around for this one, because it's not very easy to find on LP. Mostly everything I've seen on this, and I've had, and I still have, are on CDs. And this is another digital master on GRP label, and the group is called the Rippingtons. And the Rippingtons are amazingly special. And it's almost like Latin jazz with American overtones. It's really a beautiful album, and this you can put it on and listen to it straight through. It's very similar to the beat and the beats and the fun of the South American sound of Caldera, which I talked about before, and I'll talk about, I'm sure, later. Another. I'm going to get into this in more depth. I'm going to do a whole video on Gino Vanelli. But Gino Vanelli actually was the first real foray that I started picking up on back in the early 70s. And I started picking up on the sound of what they were doing on that music. It's pure jazz fusion, and that's why I remember going to Specs Music when I was younger and looking for this, and I could never find it because they always had it mismanaged. In some place they had Gino's stuff in pop or in funk or in Latin or in everything, or they'd have it in jazz. And basically most people they would label him as synth pop, but I really don't. If you listen to the musicianship on these albums, it's incredible. And I'm going to go into more detail on that, and that's for another video. So anyway, there's a singer that I actually found, and he's actually on the GRP label too, but I didn't find him. Russ Freeman from the Rippingtons found him, and he's singing on that album I just showed you, and it's this guy here. And I'd never heard of him before. And this guy's got an incredible voice. It's really beautiful to listen to. And the whole thing is basically jazz. It's like smooth jazz is what people will call it. But this smooth jazz, I mean, this guy can do it. And I mean, he's got a duet on this with what's her name? Brenda Russell. That is to die for. And another one I'm going to go into later is Michael Franks, who I really love. But Michael Franks and his music and this guy's music are very similar because actually most of the musician work on this album was from the Rippingtons. So anyway, that's my fun for the afternoon, and we'll get back to you soon. Thanks for watching the channel. Hit subscribe and like if you like this, and I'll continue to put out the content I can. Thanks guys for watching.